the Oregon Trail?
Yeah, the Oregon.
Yep, that is one of the events that took place during Western expansion.
They built train tracks
Yes,
to
they
make
did.
time go faster.
With traveling?
Traveling, and
Yeah.
then Lewis and Clark started exploring.
Exactly, and you know what? That's what we're going to start off talking about today, is Lewis and Clark. You guys have learned about Lewis and Clark before, right? You sure? You've heard of him? Okay. Well, Lewis and Clark were, while they were alive, do any of you guys know who the president was at the time? Yes, it was Thomas Jefferson.
That was my next.
Oh, was it really? Okay. Okay, well, in 1803, Thomas Jefferson was the president, and he signed a document which was going to be known as the greatest purchase of our U.S. history. And that was the document of, or that was the purchase of the Louisiana Territory, from which President Jefferson purchased from the French. After the purchase, Jefferson started an exploration of the new territory, to which he had his personal secretary, Meriwether Lewis. He assigned Meriwether Lewis to the journey. Meriwether Lewis had a friend whose name was William Clark, and both of them were very good frontiersmen and very good. Possessed a lot of skills with intelligence and literate skills for journeys. And so, with the help of his friend, William Clark and Meriwether Lewis set out to explore the new territory that Thomas Jefferson purchased. Now, here is a picture of Lewis and Clark. That's Meriwether Lewis, and that's William Clark. So together they collected a military corps of discovery that would be able to undertake a 2-year journey to the Great Ocean. They went 2 years on this journey. That is a long time. It's not a long time. So during this journey, they had there was different events that affected the expansion in the West. In 1803 is when Lewis and Clark entered the Pacific Ocean and started their journey. Then in 1836 was the Battle of Alamo. Have you guys heard of the Battle of the Alamo? Texas. Texas. That's a good guess, though. Okay, so Mexican troops attacked the Alamo mission, killing all but 2 Texans. And they provoked the Texans to the Texas Revolution. Another event that took place during the Western expansion was in 1838, was the Trail of Tears. Have any of you heard of the Trail of Tears?
Yeah.
You have?
When they were forced to leave.
The U.S. government forced the Native Americans out of the South and of their homelands, and they had to enter Indian territory in Oklahoma. Large amounts of people from different tribes and different villages and different towns, they had to move out west, and they had to march at gunpoint across hundreds of miles to a place where they would reside in the West. Another event was the Oregon Trail, which took place in 1841. People began to travel west in wagon trains on the Oregon Trail. Around 300,000 took the trail over the next 20 years. So it was a long time that people were traveling the Oregon Trail. Another event was the Mexican-American War in 1846 that went all the way to 1848. So that was 2 years the war went on. This war was fought over the rights of Texas. After the war, the United States paid Mexico $15 million for land that would later become what we now know as California, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and parts of several other states. So how many states are in the U.S. right now?
52.
50, exactly. Did you know that there was not always 50 states?
48. No, yeah, 48 states, right?
No, there's 50 states, you're right.
Yeah, no, but there was 48 and 13 colonies.
13 colonies? Well, originally, when the Louisiana Purchase took place, the United States was divided into 11 territories. That's when we ended off with the Mexican-American War, when this is how the U.S. was divided. In 1846 was the Oregon Treaty. England signs the Oregon Treaty, handing over the Oregon Territory to the United States. In 1848 was Gold Rush. Do you guys know what a gold rush is? In California, a ton of gold was found, and there's a gold strike. And so a lot of people, when they heard about the gold strike, they all started heading to California because they all wanted to find gold. A man named James Marshall discovered gold in Sutter's Mill. Soon people heard about the gold rush and fought to get to California for the strike of getting rich. So there was a lot of people who were wanting to get rich off this gold. I'm sure it was crazy. There was people all over the place. In 1860 was the Pony Express. That was when people began to deliver mail. Did you know how mailmen come to your doors every day? They did not always have that. They had an express that delivered mail all around the United States. And soon, 2 years later, 1862, was the Pacific Railroad Act. That was when the United States government agreed to help fund a railroad from California to Missouri. This helped the economy in the West as people were trying to get there from the South. So soon they went from a Pony Express to a railroad act, and that is how they got their news across the country and their different mails and documents and things like that. In 1862 was the Homestead Act. The U.S. government offered up free land to farmers who agreed to live in the land for 5 years and make improvements to the land. So many people rushed to places like Oklahoma to claim the land. So this was a good opportunity for people, especially for the farmers, because it helped their properties grow. Lewis and William Clark. While they were on their journey, they faced a lot of problems. Don't you think they would face problems for 2 years? For 2 years, they were exploring unknown territories, new territories, and they were discovering new animals that they'd never seen before. And Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, when they discovered new things, they would draw out what they saw. They would draw the new land, they would draw new animals that they had never seen before, and then they ended up taking it back to Thomas Jefferson when they showed him their discoveries. Lewis and Clark, when they were on their expedition, they encountered some problems on their expedition. One was how to cross the Rocky Mountains. Another, they were chased by a bear. Can you imagine that, being chased by a bear? That would not be fun. Do you guys know what to do when you're chased by a bear?
Go on top of a tree.
Yeah, you can either climb a tree or you can play dead. Yeah.
Wouldn't you just
They will think you're dead.
Or you can
Wouldn't they just eat you?
Yeah, like
No, they'll sniff you, but
I take you back to. If you move, that means you know you're not dead.
yeah, you have to be. See, it can be kind of scary though, because it would be hard not to move with a bear sniffing you, don't you think?
Hard to go. No, you can just throw meat at them, but it'll be you have to kill an animal first. Well, you can put a gun in the back pocket.
You what?
Or you can put like a gun in the back. Just take out a fire and burn the bear. A bullet did not kill a bear.
Another thing that happened when they were on their expedition, another problem they faced was when they were going through rivers, a lot of waves and things like that, their canoe tipped a couple of times. I'm not sure if they knew how to swim or not, but that can still be with a lot of pressure from the waters could force them to drown.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, you were going to say that? Yeah, so they fell into the river because their canoes tipped over. And then they had cold weather mosquitoes. Ooh, no one likes mosquitoes, right? Especially in the summer. So many mosquitoes. And you know what? Mosquitoes can be extremely deadly. They can be very, very deadly, and it can kill you. That's why they did tip over, is because there was a lot of force in the waters and putting force on the boat. Another thing, not only were they bitten by mosquitoes, but they were also bitten by snakes. Okay, so, how's your pictures coming? You're done?
You can it all with pencil.
Oh, that's okay. You can color however you want to. That looks really good, guys. So,
You should have colored it black.
you guys can take a minute more to color your page, and then we're going to play a game.
I finished.
It's a memory game.
Not really good. It's right there. The cards. Oh yeah.
Do you have cards? From last time? I'm sure they could, because you can get sun cancer. They have to stay protected from
I'm sure people, like, by the were they supplied with weapons, knives?
Yep, they had weapons. And do you guys know who they encountered on their journey?
The Indian.
Yep, they encountered Indians, and the Indians and them traded. They traded things. And
I totally get
they
that.
helped each other.
I totally just get
Trade
that.
an Indian.
You just get that?
I just guessed it.
Oh, you just guessed it? Yeah. Well, you kind of associate the West with Indian.
That's their iPad. One of them,
You what?
if you give them an iPad, will
you
they
give
give
them
you
an
a,
iPad?
yeah.
I don't think they had iPads back then.
Well, like if you had a time machine,
Oh, a time machine. Well,
But they have to buy it.
you could trade the land for you.
yes.
But they might not know how to use it.
Okay, girls, we're gonna take a minute to we're gonna press pause on our coloring, and we are going to we're gonna discuss the events that took place, okay, during the Western expansion, and then we're going to try to remember as many as we can. You don't have to remember all the words, just the title. Like 1836 is the Battle of Alamo, of the Alamo. And we're gonna see how many you can remember, and we're gonna write these down, okay? So first we had Lewis and Clark, right? Then we had the Battle of the Alamo. Can you guys see that okay? Right? What do we have first?
Lewis and Clark,
What do we have second?
Battle of Alamo,
Trails of Tears.
Oregon Trail,
Mexican War.
Yep. Okay, so go ahead, take a few minutes, look at those, see if you guys can remember them. Just those, the dark colored ones.
Alamo, Tears, Oregon, Mexican.
You got it?
Got it.
See if you can say it without looking at the iPad.
Lewis and Clark,
Trails
of Tears, Oregon Trail, and a Mexican American War.
You think you guys can add on the next page to that?